What's up? Welcome to Saturday's Warrior. Despite most of the Big 12 games this weekend in Week 9 going as planned, we had a major shakeup in our Big 12 power rankings this week. So we're going to get into that today, but before we do, please like this video and subscribe. We do these power rankings each week. We also do our picks with Adam in the middle of the week, as well as our reactions, our immediate reactions right after each BYU game. And also, when I can, I bring in guests from the opponent of BYU for the upcoming week. So, for example, for the West Virginia game this week, we are having Kuz from Kuz's Corner on, which is huge. We're really excited about that and to talk to him about the matchup and what to expect from that. And so please subscribe so you can catch all that stuff, plus any other videos we get out during the week. So, like I said, please subscribe. And now let's get into our power rankings. As we promised, there was a major shakeup in our power rankings. And for the first time this season, a team other than Texas or OU has the top spot. And we think that K-State fully deserves it. Remember, power rankings are here to capture more than just what's in the standings. It's really to look at the momentum that a team has. And ever since K-State switched to that dual quarterback system, playing both Will Howard and Avery Johnson, it really seems like they found something that has elevated them to a new level. And it is true, they haven't played the stiffest competition. Houston's not really a tough team. But on the other hand, look what they did to Texas just a couple weeks ago and to West Virginia, pulling off a win there. So, again, I think blowing out any team is really tough. But Houston, even though they're not at the top of the conference, they still it's still tough to blow out anybody and keep them scoreless. So we think K-State fully deserves the top. And when you look at the next two teams, we believe that OU, even though they lost, are still ahead of Texas at 3. And this is, again, looking at the momentum. OU, yes, they lost, but it was in a close battle against another good Big 12 opponent. And whereas Texas, they did win, they beat BYU, but BYU is much inferior and they should have won. But also with Quinn Ewers out, I still think that they're a very good team. Their backup is obviously very good, but I don't know if their ceiling is quite as high, at least at this point. We'll see how he does as he settles in over the course of the season. So for right now, we're still keeping OU ahead of Texas. Again, there's going to be more time for these teams to play each other and shake this up even more. But this is where we have them right now. And then at 4, we have Kansas. Of course, how could we not? They just beat the previously number 1 team in the conference in a great fight. And now I'm not completely surprised that Kansas won. I'm just surprised that they did it without Jalen Daniels, because had he been in the game, had he been slated to play, I was ready to pick Kansas as the upset. But I wasn't willing to go there with, playing Bean instead, which they're a good team. They took Texas, in a competitive game through the fourth quarter, where Texas pulled away. So I felt like there was a chance, but I didn't really think that without Jalen Daniels, they were going to be pulling that upset. So good on them. They've been looking really solid. So they have 2 losses, but 2 very good losses. Again, the loss to Oklahoma State, just like Kansas State, continues to look better and better. So speaking of Oklahoma State, they are next on our list, and they got pushed down, and that's really no fault of their own. They went out and did what they had to, but it was against Cincinnati, who is at the bottom of the conference. So we think that it wasn't so much that Oklahoma State was deserved a drop. It was more that Kansas was rising above them. So even though Oklahoma State won the head-to-head, again, there's momentum there. I'm not sure if, they played 10 times. Does Oklahoma State win majority of them? I don't know. And I don't know if I'm ready to make that call. I think in some ways Kansas may have been taken by surprise. But so this one might be kind of controversial, having these two flipped. But again, Oklahoma State beat Kansas State, and I think they're fully deserving of the top spot. And then Iowa State is still at 6. They are a very solid team. They do have some very tough losses early in the season, but you have to think that they, just like Kansas State, just like Oklahoma State, have really, as the season has gone on, gotten better and better. So I think they're better than what their record indicates. But right now, some of these other teams just have better wins. So as we get deeper in the season, Iowa State just needs to keep winning to make their case. And then we have West Virginia, and they went in and had a great win in the bounce house. And I'd actually picked UCF to win with Plumlee back and being at home. I thought, okay, this is where they're finally going to get it. West Virginia seems to be reeling a little bit from a couple losses, but no, they went in and took care of business. So again, another very solid win. But I don't know if it was enough because UCF hasn't even won a conference game yet, that I don't think it was enough to move them past Iowa State. And now we get to the back half of the conference, and this was a tough one because, again, most of these teams lost as was expected. TCU was on a bye. They've had some good wins. They look like they could be a very good team, but they also looked very bad last week. But they beat BYU just as bad the week before, and BYU looked much more solid against Texas Tech, although Texas Tech was in that game. So I still feel like that pecking order kind of needed to stay the same. And then even though, Tech was also on the bye week, but those two will have a chance to duke it out this week, and we'll see. And then we have UCF, and they have not won a single conference game, even though they've looked really good at times. So I think they do deserve some credit because you feel like they're really close to putting that all together. And so that's why I still have them ahead of these other teams. And then Houston, again, they've looked pretty feisty. They had that win against West Virginia. They looked feisty against Texas, but then they just got completely steamrolled yesterday. And so I just don't think that I couldn't justify moving them up again, just by how bad that loss was. But I still kept them ahead of Baylor because I just think Baylor has not looked good, and they've blown it, although they did have that surprise win over UCF. So this is where it starts getting kind of crazy. I keep them ahead of Cincy because they beat Cincy last week, and Cincy just looks really bad. Anyway, so you could see outside of those top five, there really wasn't much movement this week. Most of the games went kind of as expected, and when there was a team that you wanted to give kind of credit, like a Houston for hanging in there with some tough teams and still rewarding them and allowing them to move up, it was hard after just how badly they got beat yesterday and so on. So I felt like mostly stays the same, but after this next week, after week 10, a lot of these teams are going to be playing that are kind of jockeying for position. Teams that are more closely ranked will be playing this next week. And so we should be able to see in these rankings, get some more head-to-heads and really see who's going to have that momentum going forward, and really, I think, mix these power rankings up. So those are our Big 12 power rankings going into week 10. What do you think of them? Did we get it right or wrong? Please let us know in the comments. And as always, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. A reminder, we do have coups coming on later this week, so subscribe so you can catch that. And we will see you next time.